Sometimes when I charge my EV at home, my home battery automatically kicks in and supplies the power instead of drawing from the grid. And as a result, my home battery drains in next to no time. Have you run into the same issue? If so, this video is for you because I've decided to do something about it. Hi there, I'm Gary and welcome back to my channel Gary Does Solar. Sorry for my voice, I was a bit under the weather the last few days, but I'm recovering now. As part of my solar setup, I have two 9.5 kilowatt hour GivEnergy batteries, and that gives me a total of 19 kilowatt hours of storage. I also have a MyEnergy Zappi EV charger, which I use to charge two family EVs. I'm on a smart tariff called Intelligent Octopus Go, provided by Octopus Energy in the UK, which in my opinion is the best EV tariff available. It guarantees 6 hours of very cheap electricity from 11:30 PM to 5:30 AM every day, and I use this to charge both the EVs and my GivEnergy batteries. Even better than that though, if the EVs need more than those 6 hours, Intelligent Octopus Go will grant as many additional charging slots as required, all at the same low rate so that the cars always have the charge that they need. I haven't seen any of the other energy providers offering benefits as good as these, and if you want to take advantage yourself, I highly recommend switching to Octopus Energy. They have a great range of smart tariffs to suit everyone. And if you use my referral code here, you'll get £50 credited to your account. You'll also be helping me continue to make more videos like this because I'll receive £50 as well. Thank you. Now, like with most people, my batteries are programmed to constantly monitor the home power demand and discharge as needed to avoid pulling electricity from the grid. That works very well, right up until I charge my EVs. EV charging looks like regular home demand to my batteries, and so they automatically kick in to supply the load. To prevent that, I set my batteries to always charge during that 6-hour cheap rate period overnight that Intelligent Octopus Go provides. Naturally, if they're charging, they can't be discharging at the same time. Problem solved. Well, not quite. Should Intelligent Octopus Go grant additional charging slots outside of those 6 hours, my batteries won't recognise them as off-peak electricity. Instead, they'll simply see the increased demand and will immediately discharge to meet it. And given a typical single-phase charger in the UK can draw around 7 kilowatts, my 19 kilowatt hours of battery storage will empty in no time. Not only is that a highly inefficient use of my batteries, but if there was ever a power outage, I'd have no charge left to power my home's essential appliances. And that completely defeats the purpose of having an EPS-enabled battery system in the first place. I can't program the batteries to ignore these extra slots because I never know when they'll be. Intelligent Octopus Go decides them based on a whole number of factors, including how green the grid is at the time, and these slots can change at any moment too. So what do I do to solve this? Well, if your inverter and battery system is fairly new and supports this feature, one option is to add a CT clamp to the cable feeding your EV charger. That way you can set up control logic to pause or charge the battery whenever the EV is drawing power. Unfortunately, my inverter is a few years old now and it doesn't have this capability, so I need to look for another solution. Some people have addressed the issue by wiring their EV charger upstream of their inverter and battery. In that setup, any EV charging is simply not seen, and so the battery will only ever discharge to meet the rest of the home's needs. If that's something you're interested in, please let me know in the comments. I've been talking with Colin Phillipson, one of my UK viewers, and he's planning a similar setup, and I'd be happy to send you his wiring diagram for you to use yourself. Now, wiring the EV charger upstream is a simple, elegant solution, and it's relatively easy to implement, but for me it has a couple of drawbacks. I value having my GivEnergy inverter monitor and log all the energy flows, including EV charging, in one centralised location. And I actually want my home battery to charge during any extra Intelligent Octopus Go charging slots, both to maximise the financial benefits and to ensure there's plenty of energy available if there's ever an outage. A third approach then, and one that would meet all my requirements, is to use a technology called Home Assistant to automatically monitor and control everything for me. Home Assistant is extremely powerful for managing all sorts of systems, but it's not the easiest to set up and use. And if I was going to go down this route, I was going to need help. I needed to speak to a true expert on the technology. I needed to speak to the Geek. It's worth pausing my video here for a moment and go and watch the discussion I had with Ollie in his video here, released just a few days ago. He explains exactly how Home Assistant can solve my issue and details all the equipment I need. I'll see you when you get back in a few minutes. Alright then, Ollie gave me a shopping list of items to buy, and through the magic of Amazon, everything arrived a couple of days later, about £200 in all. The first item is the computer that will run Home Assistant. It's the latest Raspberry Pi version 5 and it has 8 GB of RAM. More than enough for what I need right now, but it also leaves room for additional capabilities that I'll be talking about later in this video. Next is the long-term storage, the hard drive if you like. You could just use a micro SD card, but Ollie recommends something like this as it can manage millions of data writes without ever wearing out. It's a terabyte in size, which some might say is overkill. But as with the Raspberry Pi, if I'm spending the money, I want to future-proof as far as possible. This next item will only ever be used once, but it's required to load the Home Assistant environment onto the long-term memory card via a laptop. And once that's done, the memory card will be connected directly to the Raspberry Pi. Of course, we're going to need a box to put everything in, and Ollie recommends this one, which is sturdy and not too bad looking. And finally, I need a power supply to power everything. Ollie recommended this one for me. If you'd like to follow along and purchase these items for yourself, please consider using the affiliate link Speak to the Geek provides in the video description. It won't cost you any extra, but Ollie will earn a small commission from the suppliers, which really helps support his channel. Okay, here's what the unit looks like when all the components have been fitted. And if I take the lid off, you can see it's all quite a neat fit, especially the memory card, which is housed at the bottom of the unit. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, please can you hit the like button and also subscribe. These actions really help the channel grow, thank you. Alright, let's move on to the next stage then, which is all about the programming required so that Home Assistant is able to control my system the way I'd like it to. This diagram illustrates the connectivity Home Assistant needs to ensure my battery charges alongside my EV during those off-peak periods. Home Assistant first needs to know when any extra intelligent Octopus Go charging slots are being granted, and this is achieved via a direct connection into Octopus Energy servers. Since the cheaper rate only applies when the EV is actually charging, Home Assistant also needs that status information. Thankfully, Octopus Energy already knows this because of its own integration into the EV or EV charger and can supply this information to Home Assistant. Alternatively, for certain EV charger brands, Home Assistant can connect directly if required. Finally, Home Assistant must link to my home battery system to trigger the charging whenever the EV is charging. For my GivEnergy setup, this is accomplished through a connection with my GivEnergy inverter. Although it might sound a little complicated, you don't actually need to worry about how everything works. All you need to do is follow the steps that Speak to the Geek outlines in this video here, released the same time as this one, which will set everything up for you. So, will it all work then? Let's find out. What I really like about the solution is that it's just a little black box connected into my network that just takes care of everything without me having to worry. I would just plug my Zappy charger into my EV as normal, and within a few moments Octopus Energy would send me a charging schedule to my phone. Then, when the time came, I could see that whenever my EV was charging during an additional Intelligent Octopus Go slot, my home battery would be charging at the same time. Great! And if we look at the power chart on the GivEnergy portal for the same day, you can see this operation in a bit more detail. This chart might look a bit complicated at first, but if we zoom in and overlay the charging schedule, it's easier to explain what's happening. The first charging slot was from 6:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. And at 6:30 p.m. you can see that both the EV and the home battery started charging. The red section shows the total draw from the grid, just under 12 kilowatts. And the blue section indicates just how much of that grid draw went to charging the home battery itself, about 3.5 kilowatts. The EV charging was started by Octopus, but the home battery charging was started at the same time by Home Assistant. Occasionally you'll see the EV charging rate adjusted by Octopus. Here it was reduced partway through that half-hour window. It's perfectly normal. Octopus makes these adjustments based on around 30 different parameters they monitor. When we get to 7 p.m, we can see that Octopus stops the EV charging. And at that same time, Home Assistant stops the home battery charging as well. All good. And when we get to 7:30 p.m, you can see that the EV charging is started again by Octopus, with Home Assistant restarting home battery charging at the same time. Now, although this second charging slot runs all the way through to 6 a.m, you can see that both the EV and the home battery complete their charging at roughly the same time, around 10 p.m. That's purely coincidental. I closely checked the GivEnergy charts over several days of EV charging, and I'm happy to say that I found Home Assistant worked perfectly every day. I'm really happy now to have a solution for my home battery draining issue, but it doesn't stop there. What I have now with this unit and Home Assistant is a great foundation for many other useful services. For example, assuming demand flexibility schemes aren't actually dead, as I speculated in my last video here, if we're to expect lower financial rewards for DFS going forward, it might still be worth me participating, but only if everything is fully automated. That way, I don't have to do anything beyond collecting those rewards and knowing that I'm doing my bit to help the grid. And my little Home Assistant unit is actually able to make all that happen for me. Check out this video from Speak to the Geek, where he describes how to add that capability to Home Assistant. Before I move on then, after I released my DFS video, I asked NESO, the UK's national energy system operator, if they'd be happy for me to interview them about their plans for demand flexibility service, especially given the recent drop in consumer participation. They declined, which is a bit of a shame given many of my UK viewers would like to know about the future of the service. My next step then might be to write to Ofgem, the energy regulator. Let's see. Alright then, a few other services that you can set up with Home Assistant. On occasion in the UK, when the grid is very green, some of the energy providers, including Octopus Energy, provide free electricity to their customers. Oliver mentioned to me that just like with DFS, an automation can be put in place to automatically charge your home battery at such times, and even activate household appliances. Pretty cool. And Home Assistant can even provide a real-time dashboard of what's happening at your house at any moment. What's great is that the design of this dashboard is completely configurable to suit your own needs. What's not to like? In summary then, I think I've found a great solution to the issue of my home battery draining into my EV, and it's a solution that I can build further capability onto over time. If you're already using Home Assistant yourself, please share your experiences in the comments. I'd love to know how you've integrated it into your setup, and your insights might help others gauge the benefits of the technology. Before I go then, a huge thank you to all my Patreon members, including these members on the terawatt and gigawatt tiers. It's your support that enables me to make all these videos. Until next time then, all the best.